Welcome everyone to HydraFacial UK's all-new state-of-the-art London flagship for today's panel discussion, Skin Confidence with HydraFacial and Friends, in honor of British Beauty Week. I'm your host, Paul Wharton, HydraFacial UK's Skin Confidence Ambassador. In celebration of HydraFacial's partnership with the British Beauty Council, we'll be discussing all things skin confidence with some of the industry's most noteworthy beauty experts and gurus. The British Beauty Council is an advocacy group that promotes best practices and excellence across the industry. HydraFacial is one of the most transformative, non-invasive skin resurfacing treatments available today. It combines cleansing, exfoliation, extraction, hydration, and antioxidant protection that removes dead skin cells and impurities while simultaneously delivering moisturizing serums into the skin. Oof, fabulous. The result? Well, you be the judge. I'm 96 years old. Not enough laughter. Come on. You knew it was a joke, didn't you? Today we have with us Alex Light, body confidence advocate, host of the podcast, Should I Delete That? And author of You Are Not a Before Picture. Internationally renowned beauty and skin specialist and the owner of Derm Spa, esthetician Neelan Holmes. Victoria Brownlee, the Chief Policy Officer of the British Beauty Council, and the Country Manager for HydraFacial UK and Ireland, our fearless and fabulous leader, Lauren Gibson. Welcome, friends.
Hi.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Ooh, you're looking fabulous today.
Thank you.
So, Alex, I'll start with you.
Okay.
You know, you often hear people talking about having a bad hair day. But when we're not having a good skin day, that seems to hit a bit deeper and can cause for a bit more than just a beauty boost. Alex, what is the best place to start when your skin has you feeling like hiding in bed, but reality is telling you you have to get out there, face life, face first, and forge on?
This is so difficult. This is so hard. And I really relate to anyone who feels like that because it's such a difficult position to be in when you're like, I don't feel good. I want to shut out the world. And yet I have to just get up and get going. And I think it's really important to recognize the impact that feeling not so great about your skin has on your confidence and your self-esteem. And for that reason, I think it's really important to take a moment before you shrug everything off and get up and go and give yourself the boost that you need. It's important to have that moment where you sit and allow and afford yourself compassion, self-compassion, and afford yourself a bit of grace for that moment of, well, I do have to now go and show up in a world that has a focus on appearance and the aesthetic when I'm not feeling so good about that. So I think it's really important to have that moment. But as you said before we started recording, like you have to pull yourself out of that moment as well.
Acknowledge it. Yeah, and I was saying that I have this thing where I go to the good because you can get lost in those negative thoughts.
Right, exactly. And I think there's a fine line, isn't it, between, you know, you strike that balance between allowing that moment and then thinking, right, and now I have to face the day and I have to get out of my own head, I think is really important. And I think a great way of doing that is acknowledging that people around us and the people that we're going to face in the day are not as focused on our appearance and our perceived flaws as we think they are. And it's like, it's the, you know, the spotlight effect, which is a psychological phenomenon that whereby we overestimate how much people around us are noticing and remarking upon our appearance and our behavior. And it's just not true. Like more often than not, people are wrapped up in their own insecurities and their own issues, right?
Amen. They are thinking about us. They are not thinking about us.
Right. That's the thing, you know. And it's the same with, you know, on the beach. If you've got like cellulite, we're thinking like, oh, people are going to be, you know, just judging us for it.
They're probably going through their own journeys as well, right? So you're really concentrating on something, a flaw on your face, and they're probably having equal thoughts about something that they're feeling really insecure about as well. It's that we've all got our own little journeys going on. We're not just silos, we're actually all in a big partnership.
I think it's good that you know, it's like you say, you've got to accept how you are looking and face the world. I used to have quite bad skin, and what I would do is look at it and then go, how do I cover it? And it would be like, I have to cover it and to look acceptable, but actually
sometimes it made it worse.
You don't need to, do you? And you're right, nobody was really actually looking at me.
So,
you know, so they weren't analysing it like I was.
And it's so, I think it's so sad how much our appearance can stop us from doing things, when that is the truth. It's just that people just tend not to care. And the people that do care, if they care, that's on them and that's not on you, right? That's a projection of their own issues, their own insecurities, their own, you know, the lens through which they're looking at the world.
What is it that some people say? People that matter don't mind, and the people that mind don't matter.
Exactly.
I mean, if you think about that, it's really something.
Totally.
So, Alex, how has taking care of your mind and body actually affected how you feel about yourself outwardly?
Monumentally. I mean, I've been through a hell of a journey, for lack of a better word. I always say for lack of a better word because I find the word journey cringy, but I don't have a better word, so journey. I need to stop saying that, but yeah, journey. I've been through a huge journey. I grew up really with like zero self-esteem, just my self-esteem through the floor, and I've really grown up, sounds so sad, but really just disliking the skin I'm in. And working on that and going through that journey and getting to a place where I feel better has just absolutely transformed my life, from living a life where how I looked ruled my life to now living a life where how I look doesn't impact how I live. And that's just, it's huge. It's just like freedom. It's like being in a prison and then unlocking the gates. Yeah. Is that right? The gates?
Yeah.
The cell?
Everything's all right.
Yeah.
No judgment. The gates. Judgment-free zone here.
And then just like living in just feeling free is amazing. And then of course there are still bad days, and I still have some not so great days, but it's also recognizing that those days aren't like relapses. It's not going back to square one. It's just self-love and self-acceptance really is a journey, and it's not necessarily a destination. It's not just like, I didn't feel good about myself and now I feel good about myself every single day, every single minute, every single second. Like, that's just not realistic, especially in this culture that we live in. So I think it's just recognizing that, like, okay, I don't feel so good today, but I'm going to take care of myself, and I've got like tools in my armor now, and I'm going to call on them and use them to get to a place where I can face the day.
Well, speaking of this journey, look, cringe.
Do you know what I mean?
No, actually, I
do you know what I mean?
Because we all on our own journeys.
Yeah.
But Alex, what was your aha moment that encouraged you to start seeing yourself through kind eyes?
Do you know what? This is difficult because I feel like I would love to give you like an aha moment, like this like light bulb pivotal moment where like everything changed for me. But that's just not the reality for me. I feel like instead it was a very long series of moments of imperceptible progress that added up to me being in a better place. And I think that's the case for a lot of journeys, isn't it? There is not necessarily one moment where you're like, this is it, I'm out and I feel good about myself now. But I think there are things along the way which really helped me. And one of those things was looking at how I spoke to myself, my inner voice, you know?
Internal conversation.
It's unbelievable how we speak to ourselves. And if you take a step back and think, would I say this to my mum or my sister or my friend? It would be outrageous if you did. And yet we say these really horrible things to ourselves. And it's just really shocking because we don't deserve that in any way. We deserve nothing less than the compassion and grace and kindness that we afford other people. So I think that was one huge thing. And then I think another thing as well was finding the beauty in other people. We've lived we've all grown up in a society where there's only been one type of beauty that's been force-fed. It's just this in the media we've just absolutely been bombarded by this one type of messaging, and then we've ended up in this warped place where we think only one type of beauty, this very narrow standard of beauty that society shows to us, is beautiful. And it's just so not true. We live in a world where everyone is different. Everyone is unique. We all have different DNA, different genes. No one person looks alike. And that is so cool. Like, that is where beauty lies, in diversity, and getting myself out of that headspace of thinking that I needed to look like this person. And if who's a tanned but white, tall, toned, blonde woman, and getting out of that and realizing that like there is beauty everywhere, and seeing that beauty was magic. And that makes you really, it's like flowers, you know, like flowers are individually so beautiful, and then together they're so beautiful. And like, you might have a favorite flower, but you would never say, you know, I love a hydrangea and all the rest are ugly.
Yes, right.
All the rest of the flowers are ugly. Like, no, and the hydrangea is beautiful when it's put with other flowers. And I think that's how we should look at humans. It's kind of a weird analogy, but I like it because I think it's just so crazy and warped that we're in this place where it's like only one type of beauty, and it's just not true.
Well, how do you maintain that confidence whilst dealing with the stigma that's attached to getting older?
Yeah, this is tricky, and obviously I have to acknowledge that I'm 34, so I'm not.
But wait, I gotta say something. I remember when I was 25, I was doing this show called Made on MTV, and MTV threw me a birthday party, and I showed up to the party, and I thought, I'm so old at 25. So it's all relative.
It's all relative.
You know,
and it's
looking
all
back,
about
I'm like, oh
perspective.
my God, please.
Give me a break.
Yes,
Imagine being 25.
Yeah.
But you're so right. It's all relative.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective, and especially the beauty industry is so hyper focused on being young, staying young, anti-aging, tackle the wrinkles, fight the wrinkles. But I feel like aging really is like the ultimate privilege. And it's so cool that we get to age, and signs of aging are signs of living. And what's the alternative?
I like that.
What's the alternative to aging? You know, it's that we're not here anymore, which is really horrible. But obviously then it can be difficult when you've got this, but that's also at odds with an industry that's telling us look younger, be youthful. Especially, it's a very gendered issue as well towards women. Men are afforded a lot of grace as they age. You know, they'll age like fine wine, and they are silver foxes, whereas women become unsightly. So that's very difficult. But I just think I like to just sort of give a middle finger to like those societal expectations, and think like, I'm so happy to age, like it's cool. At the same time, I still love my skincare, and I love taking care of my skin, and I love making my skin feel as like fresh and healthy as possible. So just think whatever makes you feel good, you know?
Well, it does feel like we're in a much needed wave of body positivity. And I have to give you credit, because it's people like you that share those messages on your platform, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
So diet culture in beauty and media, is it changing for the better?
Definitely. I think if you look at even 5 years ago, how far we've come is huge. The media has really listened to what consumers actually want. I think social media has been great for, you know, with traditional media, we, the consumer, the mass market, we didn't have an actual chance to speak. Whereas with social media, we're able to create our own narrative and drive our own narrative. And the media has had to listen up and say, okay, we need to show diversity. We need to be inclusive and represent. It's not perfect by any means. There is still like a really, really long way to go.
It's a journey.
But it's a journey, yeah. But I really would like to believe that we're on a good path and that we're making steps. There is just...
Do you remember magazines that used to have like the circle of shame for like cellulite or fat shaming, mostly women, because it was women's magazines, right? You just wouldn't have that now. And I think that shows a massive shift. That was my teenage years, my formative years, where I was seeing all of that in magazines around like, oh my gosh, if you do this diet where you can still have McDonald's at lunch if you want, then you can look exactly like, I don't know, some fantastic celebrity that used to be on Emmerdale or whatever. And now it's like, it's more about loving the skin you're in. And we've got people like Lizzo and people of all different shapes and sizes that are just being really body positive about who they are and not apologizing for it and saying, I will never look like that, but I can still love who I am. And I think that's something really good that we're teaching new generations that are coming and being influenced and then exposing themselves to the beauty industry, that you can still be beautiful however you look, you're just finding your version of beautiful.
Right.
That's really interesting, because we have a saying on the wall here, and I say it all the time. I think I even said it earlier. Face life, face first. It's right over there. So how can we be more like you and loving what we see in the mirror? Thinking about that saying, face life, face first. Do you believe that?
Totally. I actually think what underpins all of this is self-compassion. I know I keep going on about it, but I think it's so important. It's something that we're so lacking. And I think that's like the first step and the key to all of this is just giving yourself that compassion that you give other people. And then recognizing that there is beauty in all of us. And if you can see the beauty in other people, you can see it in yourself as well. And why shouldn't you be allowed to face life and face first and face the day? And why shouldn't, with confidence, why shouldn't you? Of course you can. And I think it's just unlocking that, which I don't want to, you know, minimize how anyone's feeling, because obviously it can be really difficult to tackle low self-esteem. But I promise to anyone listening, like, you are worthy and deserving of everything that everyone else is. I promise. Don't listen to that nasty, you know, inner self-critic, and just try and banish it. Work on it. Do CBT on yourself, and every time it comes up, just ask yourself the question: would I say that to anyone else? And if the answer is no, then you absolutely don't deserve it either.
Okay, so Alex 101 self-love. A few of your top tips just to get people going on that journey. I'm going to say it again.
Sorry.
It used to be my favorite band, and now it's my favorite saying because of Alex. But a few tips. Believe, I don't think we have the rights. Don't sing it. But just a few tips to get people going on that path.
It's a really common thing that people say, but it's so vital, is to curate your social media feed. With traditional media, we can't really curate what we see. We don't really have a choice with what we consume, but social media, we spend so much time on it now, in increasing amounts of time. Make sure what you're consuming is positive messaging that's going to make you feel better about yourself rather than worse. And follow a diverse range of people of all shapes and sizes and races and genders and abilities, and open your eyes up, as we were talking about, to all the beauty in the world. And make sure you're following a genuine cross-section of society rather than just people that uphold the standard of beauty, because you're always going to end up feeling inadequate about yourself. So I think that's a really huge one, just to take a look, just take stock of who you're following.
And know that those people don't wake up looking like that. The people that we're following on social media, the people that we're seeing in these magazines you're speaking of, when they wake up in the morning, they look just like you and me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have this thing. I tell you, I wear a silk cap at night. You know? And you know, when I'm seeing someone, you know, I used to do this thing where I would wait till they fall asleep, and then I put the silk cap on, and then I would like look like somebody's, you know, old auntie. Do you know? And I pull it off. And then I thought, wait a minute, if you love me, you got to take me and my silk cap. So as soon as it's time for bed, I put that silk cap on, you know, because it takes work. It takes work.
It does. It does take work, and even the girl in the photo doesn't look like the girl in the photo.
No, she
you know,
doesn't.
like, I think that's one of the best quotes. They just don't. And yeah, just be very, very kind to yourself.
Filters and all of that that people can easily do now. Do you have an opinion on that?
I have a lot of opinions on
how
that.
to keep it healthy?
I do.
Or just how to keep it healthy?
I think this is tricky because filters are so ubiquitous now, and everyone uses filters that it kind of feels like, well, why shouldn't I?
Right.
If everyone else is using them. But it's just a dangerous game, because you start to blur the lines of reality, you know, and start to create a new standard for yourself, and one that you are never going to live up to, because it's completely unrealistic and unattainable. You can't look like that because it's not you. And it starts to alter how we see our real selves. So I think use them with caution and really take stock of how you're using them and how it's making you feel when you look in the mirror and you don't see that filtered version of yourself. And at the end of the day, like, life is genuinely so much more important than how we look. Like, how we look is the least interesting thing about us. And if we can shift that focus from how we look to the genuinely more important things in our life, you know, it's proven by scientists that, like, what makes us actually happy and what brings us genuine contentment is our relationships and connection. You know, we're social animals. Like, that's what's important, and our morals and our values, and it's not how we look. And I think if we can shift the focus away from that in our own lives to making ourselves better as human beings, I think we'll be in a lot better place.
I love it. I love it. Can she get a round of applause?
Oh, thank you.
You are bringing a lot to this party, Miss Alex. So Lauren Gibson, the fabulous Lauren. So Lauren, we talk about this all the time. The mind and body are very much connected. And I have told you before about when I was a teenager, I experienced terrible acne, and it resulted in me being very depressed, which concerned my family and I. So can you talk a little bit about the interaction between mind and skin and the psychological effects that it can have on us when we're experiencing skin depression?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a perfect follow-on from what you were saying, because I too had acne as a teenager and had many days where I didn't want to go to school because I looked in the mirror and would see this person that I thought everyone was seeing, and actually they didn't care how I showed up. This morning I jumped on the tube with absolutely no makeup on to come here for the filming, and it was so empowering to just be in the skin that I'm in. So we are absolutely seeing, you know, the highlights on the social media from COVID, being on Zoom screens, having to look our best at all times. We're starting to see that people are feeling what they look like more than they did, I'd say, 2 years ago. So we really need to make sure that we are, as an industry, highlighting the importance of it's okay to be you. Yeah. It's okay to be beautiful in your skin, or be in the beauty industry and find a esthetician who can work with what you've got and make you feel the best version of yourself. Because, you know, it all comes back again to that internal conversation. Would you speak to your mom in that way? No. So why are you speaking to yourself?
Yeah.
You would ghost yourself in 2 seconds if you were dating yourself.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good point that you say, but in our industry, I always have this thing. Sometimes I sit there and I think, am I breeding vanity? You know, because I'm selling this treatment. And I've said that to my clients sometimes, and they say, actually, you give me so much confidence. So, you know, it's one of those double-edged sword situations, you know, but I think it's really our job to bring out the best in someone else, and if we've got the tools to help them feel more confident, that's what we need to do.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the reasons I love being in this industry, is that as therapists or practitioners, we have the power in our hands to change the way somebody feels when they get off the treatment couch. And maybe that acne is still there, but it's less inflamed. Maybe that psoriasis is still irritating them, but we've calmed down the itch and the scratch. So, you know, I find this industry fascinating because we can impact somebody's life positively and help them move out of that skin depression that you were speaking about. Yeah. And that's actually my story of how I got into the industry. I was so wowed by what my therapist did on my skin that I decided to join it.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's really interesting what you say about acne, because I think there's often this perception of acne as something that's just for teenagers. Yeah. And I had light acne growing up, but I actually developed adult female acne after I had my 2 children.
Very common now.
Yeah, and it was something that really, really shocked me. It was really terrible acne. But I think there's this perception when you're older that, you know, you're past that point of your life. And so it's almost, you're more shameful about it because you're going into professional environments. Me, for example, going in to have meetings with politicians and in Westminster, etc. And you're there feeling like a spotty teenager. Yeah. And that's where I think, exactly like you say, being able to change somebody's mindset by the things that you offer to say, you can be more confident, or you can help allay that mindset or relieve some of those symptoms. Just it makes such a difference to people that are dealing with this later in their life, not necessarily in that period where everyone sort of expects to be a bit spotty.
Absolutely, and it's just educating the general consumer, right? Because to your point, the media tells us acne is a teenager condition, but if we can educate our consumers and our clients that actually anyone can get it. You can get it when you're 50. Yeah. If it's in your genes and it's in your genetics, and our external factors, our life has changed so much over the last couple of years. You know, where are you living? What transport are you using? How are you dealing with stress? How are you juggling being a mom and having a meeting with politicians? So, you know, all of that comes into play.
Well, speaking of stress, we now know that consistency in whole body health routines like the gym, like nutrition, like sleep and managing stress, that can lend to your overall quality of life. So can we think the same thing about skincare?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, years ago, everything used to be siloed. So it was go to the gym, then go see your skin expert, then, you know, take a pill to fall asleep. Whereas now we're really starting to approach all of this with that 360-degree approach. So, you know, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm going to look average the next day and not my best self. If I'm not eating correctly for my body and there's no have McDonald's or don't have McDonald's. It's about the balance. I know that I'm going to get a skin flare up. So it's about really understanding your body and the things you're doing on a day-to-day basis to keep you healthy and the best version of yourself.
Yes.
I think that's so important because we don't have endless time, right? We've all realized that. I feel like time has just done this and our capacity has done this. But it's about how do we still fit that all in? How do we still go and have a quick treatment that gives us the same results? How do we do a quick Zoom session with our personal trainer to ensure we're moving our body? Everything we do all adds up to that wholesome, holistic well-being.
I like that. Wholesome, holistic well-being. Yeah. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. So as a fan of HydraFacial for more than a decade myself, I really appreciate the personal customization aspect of the treatment with the various boosters. So right now I'm loving firming, hydration, and brightening. So Lauren, why is it important to be able to tweak your skincare needs based on what's happening with your own body cycles?
I think, every day is not the same. So if you can imagine the skin, we have an epidermal cell turnover every 28 to 35 days, depending on your age. Your skin's going to be different every time you see your therapist or practitioner. And not just that, you might be in a high stress time of your life. You might be preparing for an event, a wedding. You could be doing a new diet. You could be learning to love yourself again. So our skin is always going to be different. So it's so important that when you come in and see your therapist and practitioner, they're actually doing that consult with your skin, because what your skin looks like today is not going to be the same the next time you come in. So today you might be craving that hydration, like you mentioned. But next time you might say, well, I'm feeling like I need a little bit of firming or a little bit of brightening. So, we really take personalization and customization to the next level with HydraFacial, because we want to ensure that we're treating the skin that we see today to give you that ultimate glow.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit more about that holistic beauty. And I want to get your thoughts on working together with other brands like Murad, like Dermalogica, like Zoe. It's fabulous. Got some great products from there. And an all-encompassing approach. Does it ultimately help to create healthier, more radiant skin when you all work together?
Yeah, so HydraFacial is known as the and brand. So, we like working with multiple skincare partners, even other treatments. We encourage our practitioners to work with HydraFacial when they're doing laser or injectables or needling, because it just sets a fantastic foundation of hydration for that next treatment. So from a skincare point of view, absolutely. We want clients using skincare that's going to impact them positively at home. From an industry point of view, it is so important for us at HydraFacial to partner with brands that can really help elevate the beauty industry. So we want to teach consumers, we want to empower people with education, and we really want people to want to enter this industry with passion and enthusiasm, because like I said, it's changed how many of our lives. We want more of that. So it's kind of double, for the consumer and for the people in the industry.
Well, now I want some scoop. So many of us, as you just said, how it changed our lives, have experienced the remarkable results that using HydraFacial has had on our faces.
Yeah.
But Lauren, is it true that soon we'll be able to get the glow from head to toe? Girl, tell me what's up.
Absolutely. So I think people forget that, HydraFacial can actually do multiple treatments. So of course, we've got the HydraFacial on the face. We can do a neck and décolleté treatment. We have got our fantastic Keravive, which is our scalp health treatment. So actually working the treatment through the scalp for areas of concern. And we've got HydraFacial hands, HydraFacial back of the arms, HydraFacial back, so prepping for wedding season. And soon, HydraFacial booty.
Woo! That's where I was going, honey. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so, we're in this culture now of be you, do what you want to do, go onto the beach with that thong and shake your, depending on how you feel.
Yes.
There's not the perfect buttocks anymore. It's about how confident are you feeling?
Oh, it's HydraFacial Beauty.
Oh, beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's booty beauty.
Yes.
Everybody
Got
have a
that
booty.
smooth.
Yeah.
It can be big, small, round, flat. It's okay.
But it's going to be smooth with HydraFacial.
But it's going to be smooth.
It's going to be smooth.
Because people want to be confident, especially if we look at, when it's hotter and you're sweating, we're not all wearing the right fabrics. It does cause a bit of irritation on the booty, and you can get the odd spot or two. So if you want to wear a thong on the beach the next time you go to Spain, you can have a HydraFacial booty before.
Listen, sign me up. Right? So Neelam, sometimes it's easy to feel alone in our skincare struggles, as we've been talking about. But you see VIPs, celebrities, and everyday people in your derm spa. Can you just share with me some of the most common conditions you see with your clients from all walks of life?
I would say the most common things people come in with are problematic skin, like your acne, and aging concerns, fine lines, wrinkles. Pigmentation is a big problem now because a lot of people love the sun. And I would say sensitive skin is a big problem too, because I think a lot of people are doing things that are probably not the right things at home and stripping their skins of the essential, barrier that we need.
So what causes some of those conditions that you speak of?
Well, it's a combination of everything. Some of it is genetic and hereditary. Lifestyle has a big part to play. Your diet, your exercise routine, whether you're smoking, drinking. Basically all those things can, inflame some of those conditions. The sun is a big factor. So, the skin becomes dehydrated, damaged so that we get pigmentation. Just a lot of different things, really.
So Neelam, what sort of skin treatments can be done at home, and when should we turn to a professional like you?
Yeah, so I always think going to a professional gets you on the right track. There are so many things out there, especially now everybody's online looking at what you can buy and can have, and everything promises these, magic miracles, and often those pictures aren't actually accurate either, these before and afters you see. So, I see a lot of people come into me and they've used things that they bought online. So peel solutions that are really should be left to professionals. A lot of people with a lot of scarring because they've been trying to do extractions themselves. So, treatments like that, really, I think you need to leave to the professionals. But a good home care routine really supports and really attributes to the success of a professional treatment. So, you can go into the salon, have a HydraFacial treatment, but one treatment alone, it's going to get you to a certain point, but you need to continue that at home yourself. So, a professional can guide you into the right routine to do.
Yeah,
so just to reveal the mystery, what should these people expect when they come to see someone like you?
Well, I think when you go into a professional, you want to definitely undergo a good consultation. So during that consultation, you need to let your therapist know exactly what you're looking for so they can manage your expectations. You want to tell them all about your concerns so that they can find the right tools and the treatment and bespoke it so that it targets your concerns for that time. So it's not just about really, just what's going to happen today, but you want to make a long-term treatment plan as well. Really when somebody comes into me, I take into account the time they want to spend, the budget, because not everyone has a budget as well. So some people can't actually come in and have regular treatments. So it's really making sure that you can give them a cost-effective treatment that they can use something at home every day that's going to continue the results as well.
So we've talked a lot about the treatments that are available out there, but what should people be looking for when they're searching out their professional? Accreditation? What are they looking for online? How do they know the right person for them?
I think experience is something you need to go for. You need somebody who's qualified and you need the accredited person as well. There are so many online courses. I know people who are doing courses in a week and becoming a qualified, level 3 therapist, and they're doing that online without any experience or any, they're not having any training that's, adequate to then put, and it's not fair on the consumer to walk into somewhere and think they're getting that really good treatment from a professional when they're not experienced themselves.
Such a good
point. That's something that you
Victoria,
probably
what do you think
see.
about that?
It's such a good point, and it's exactly the reason why there's work underway now to bring in some kind of regulation of this industry, that we've seen this boom of more and more consumers wanting these kinds of treatment or being open about the fact that they want them, which I think is really key. Less of this cloak and dagger, like, oh, no one's to know that I've had X, Y, Z. We need people being more open and transparent about the fact that they want to have these kinds of treatments, so then they know where to get the correct information from to go and get those. But exactly like you say, having these kind of short courses, these manufacturing training courses where someone can go and do like a half day's training, a full day's training, and then go and be giving somebody botulinum toxin in their sister's living room one evening is exactly the kind of thing that we don't want to stand behind or next to as an industry. We want to be there professionalizing the industry, showing that we actually are an industry that is reputable. And to do that, I think we need some kind of regulation to say, you need to be CQC registered, you need to have off-call regulations, you need to be a medical professional, whatever that is. We need to set a standard that then everybody has to work towards, whether that's what your premises looks like and how clean and safe that is, to what the practitioner's training is, to what kinds of treatments they're allowed to do without medical oversight, those kind of things. We need that now, because we've had this kind of like Love Island culture of everyone wanting to look a certain way. And so it's just led to a massive influx of demand without the right practitioners there to offer those treatments.
We get that a lot. I get a lot of clients come in and they bring in a photograph. Either it's a filtered picture of themselves, and you know, I'm guilty of using a filter. I'm not so confident with my skin all the time, but they come in with that, or they want to look like a different person. And I think as much as social media sort of generates people wanting to look a certain way, and it's a great marketing tool for businesses too, but a lot of people find their practitioner on social media. So if you've got a great social media page, you don't necessarily have to be good at the treatments that you're offering.
But you look like the best from that kind of
but
social,
actually you'll find a lot of people who aren't so active on social media are the ones that are actually working all the time. So really, when you are finding your therapist, you've got to have a consultation. You have to have that rapport with the person that's, you know, you're trusting with your skin, and, you know, making sure that you gel, they understand what you want, you know, they can deliver what you're wanting as well. They're not over-promising either.
So Victoria, tell us about the Health and Care Act of 2022. What does this mean for consumers?
Well, it's sort of along the lines of what I was just talking about with this idea of regulation of who can carry out treatments and what treatments can be carried out. So all that's happened with the Health and Care Act is it's a complete overhaul of how the NHS works in partnership with adult social care, which we know we're an aging population, we need to deal with that in the UK. So it's fantastic that it's come in. But what's coming with this is something which will allow a new piece of legislation to come in the future, which would regulate our sector. The problem we've got now is that we've got a new Prime Minister that's just come in place, and we don't know what kind of priorities she will have in terms of how quickly or slowly she wants to take forward that regulation. So where we need to work as an industry is to say, we stand behind the need for this regulation. We want to professionalise our industry. And so we need to be showing that we want to work with government to find solutions to where these problems are, because we don't want people going and having dodgy treatments, going somewhere where there's no insurance. Because at the moment, if that happens, there's no recourse for that practitioner. So that person can go and have a terrible treatment, have terrible reactions, cryotherapy, have whole bits of their skin made dead, like terrifying things, vampire facials, vitamin infusions where people are intravenously injecting with very little training, and have a bad reaction on that consumer, on that customer, and then be able to do exactly that same treatment the next day. Whereas what we need is some kind of regulation to say, if there's something that goes wrong in those treatments and that person isn't acting in the right way, they shouldn't be allowed to practice it.
I get a lot of scarring to correct all the time, you know, that's all treatments that have just been incorrectly done. And actually the practitioners, it turns out they always think that actually looks okay, or they don't think there's anything really wrong with it. But when we're working with the skin, we've got to really be careful with infection control, you know, all of those things. I mean, even microneedling at home, people are doing things like that. You know, I think the industry has become, there's a lot of DIY stuff as well.
And I think that just heightened when COVID hit, right? Because we couldn't get to our practitioners or our therapists in the beginning. So I think, you know, the British Beauty Council has got a great foresight of what they want to achieve, because it's going to help practitioners and therapists make sure that they have studied hard and are doing the best treatments and are getting the best clients.
We just want people to be working to the same standards. So
Absolutely.
That way, as a consumer, if you're going out there to try and find someone, at the moment, it's a little bit of a minefield about the right person to go to. There isn't really any one kind of like database or area online that you can go to and say, this is where I know I'll get a double A1 person. That doesn't exist right now. Whereas when we have this legislation in place, you can feel confident as a consumer to know that person has these correct qualifications. They can only perform these treatments. There'll be this medical oversight. They've got this insurance, and have that confidence, which I think would just make a massive difference to the professionalization and just holding our heads high as an industry is something to be proud of. That we want people to be body confident, and by going to these people, you're going to get that.
So the British Beauty Council works with the beauty industry, the government, and others to drive excellence. What is Victoria Brownlee the most excited about for the future of the council?
Well, this regulation piece is massive for me because we've sort of taken it from the start to where it is now. So that's a really, really big piece of work. But as I mentioned, with the change of government, we've now got a situation where we're starting essentially fresh with a new prime minister. We've got a woman. Could that be good in our favour? Could it not be? Sometimes we find with female leaders is that they feel this need to over-masculate themselves, to not associate themselves with feminine issues. So I think I'm in a little bit of a difficult time now where we don't really know what to expect, but I'm remaining positive. We spent the last 3 years really raising the reputation of the sector. We've proved to the government that we're a $30 billion dollar. It's because I'm in the presidency.
Yay!
£30 billion in terms of the economic contribution that we make, that we offer diverse opportunities to people from all different kinds of walks of life, that we are fantastic in terms of entrepreneurship, the things that we can offer to women in particular. And I think from that point of view, we've really shown the government that we have something to say for ourselves. We contribute more in GDP than the car manufacturing industry, but yet everyone always thinks about, the Range Rovers of this world in terms of UK representation. And I think we've got a lot to say as the British beauty industry, and it's the time now where the government have started to listen to us, and now we need to keep forward with that and really just say, we've got things to say in these kinds of spaces, and so now you need to listen to us.
Well, we're a female-led industry. Personally, I have a lot of clients. I have a high percentage of male clients, but we're entrepreneurs, we're small businesses. We don't really get big corporations, do we? Apart from our suppliers usually, but most therapists and beauty salons are quite small businesses and often female-led.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I could speak to you ladies all day, and I think we should go have some healthy, personalized martinis after this. But I do want to get one final thought, one takeaway. How can the people watching go about their day and go about their journey? I had to say it one more time.
We're leaning into it, aren't we?
We're leaning in.
To look and feel skin confident, just share one thing with me.
I'm going to stick with self-compassion and being kind to yourself and allowing yourself to believe that you are absolutely good enough as you are.
Lauren?
I think for me, it's leaning in. So leaning into the people around you, leaning into the experts like we have here on the panel, because everybody has the best version of themselves. And sometimes you just need to unlock it.
Yes.
And then you just boost and boom with confidence. So, yeah.
I like that.
I think it's more about accepting how you look and not wanting to look like somebody else. I always used to say, oh, I've got sort of an unusual face, and then I'd want to look like this person or that person, but you don't have to. I think you can just look lovely as you are, and like you say, accept yourself.
I love that, Neela.
Well, I think for me, it's the power of beauty, which is the whole reason why the British Beauty Council is here. British Beauty Week has been here. It's this idea that beauty has so much power to make us feel like the best first version of ourselves, the face forward idea. I love that. And it's this idea that beauty has this role to play in society to really help our own health and well-being, and we should celebrate that fact.
I love that. Ooh. Well, defining your look really starts with refining how you feel about yourself. And I think all the tips and all the sharing and all the expertise from this panel is going to help a lot of people out there today. And I hope you've loved it just as much as we loved speaking about it here today. Wow. Well, this has been incredible. Alex, Neelam, Victoria, and Lauren, thank you so much for being here today and speaking so passionately about skin confidence with purpose and strength. And thank you to everyone watching at home. Again, I'm Paul Wharton, and it's been such a pleasure sharing time and space with these fabulous experts. Won't you agree? You can follow HydraFacial UK at HydraFacial UK and all of us on social media. And remember, stay fabulous because you are. Bye. Oh, you all were so good. No, I mean really good. Girl, the confidence.